I know every school has one of those weeks where all the clubs and organizations come out to the quad area to shop their stuff. You know, get you interested, sign away your email, sign away your soul, sign away your virginity. Just like Mom said it would happen. So there I was, wandering through the masses, trying to scope out which tables had the best free nonsense, and I saw it. A life-size cutout of a 2-ton heifer with the face missing. I'll name her Hefita the Headless. Think Jason's mom from Friday the 13th, only a whole lot less nasty. To bring us closer together, I shoved my brace face in that cow hole so hard I put on my best Eliza Thornberry smile. They gave me a Polaroid documenting our love, but on top of it it said, "Boo moo moo, she wouldn't eat you." By no means am I a vegetarian, but let's be real. Maybe there's some truth to those pesky rumors concerning meat consumption. And by rumors, I mean facts. The United Nations estimates that the livestock sector generates nearly 1/5 of the world's annual greenhouse gases. That's more than all forms of transportation produced combined. So we've got two options: stop eating or stop driving. Since our health and survival are dependent on driving, we better stop eating, or at least curb our meat consumption. And I'm not talking about like olden days consumption like Charles Dickens. "Please, sir, my lung hurts. I'm so brave." Well, it's not that. So let's investigate some of the negative environmental effects of our meat consumption by first slaughtering the problems, then butchering the causes, and finally grilling up some tasty vegetables. In the spirit of meats, God rest their souls, I decided I'd package my problems to an even butcher's dozen: destruction to the environment and surplus breeding of animals. That's right, a butcher's dozen is two. Don't believe me? Go ask a butcher. First, environmental destruction. You're probably sitting there going, "Yeah, I know, the earth is dying, blah, blah, blah." But seriously? The World Resource Institute found that the livestock sector is the largest source of water pollution in most geographic areas. Even worse, the Australian Literary Review of August 14, 2008 claims beef and lamb produce a lot of methane, a greenhouse gas much worse than carbon dioxide. I always knew cows farted, but isn't it weird that lambs do too? Can you hear the lambs farting, Clarice? The press of July 22nd, 2008 reports that New Zealand will have to raise their fart tax again because methane accounts for nearly half of the country's annual greenhouse emissions. The other half is produced by Peter Jackson, Lord of the Panty Burp. Next, barnyard whoopee. Our lust for quad-stacked bacon eaters with cheese have forced farmers to meet the demand by encouraging more sex than ever before. And more babies means less sanitary living space, just like Octomom's uterus. The Humane Farming Association reports on their website that farm animals, by the millions, are forced to live in cages barely larger than their own bodies. Even worse, in her article, The Long, Cruel Journey to the Slaughterhouse, Emily Duncan states that many of these animals travel up to 4,500 miles just to get slaughtered, kind of like the U.S. soccer team. You don't laugh as though you know and don't care about the U.S. soccer team. So you might be wondering, how could this happen? Well, like the number of Hefita stomachs, there are 8 causes. First, we're too familiar with our daily diets, and second, overconsumption. Did I say 8? I meant 2. Oops! For starters, we fail to educate ourselves on what constitutes a good diet and tend to stick to our regular routines. Mine happens to involve juggling balls on uneven bars. College is just like Mom said it would be. In an April 2008 Harvard Medical Journal study, when given a table filled with various foods from different countries, 83% of subjects chose familiar American classics over new dishes. The other 17% chose death. Unfortunately, as a culture, we don't know what's good for us anymore. Take, for instance, omega-3 for brain function. Most people believe that this oil is only found in fish butts. A small number believe that omega-3 is the leader of the Autobots. However, the George Mountahan Foundation claims that flax seeds and walnuts contain the most amount of omega-3 of any food. So we're calling ourselves health nuts without actually knowing the first thing about healthy nuts. Gentlemen, please check yourselves regularly. Next, according to the U.S. Department of Commerce, in 2008, meat industry sales were approximately $152 billion, or roughly the estimated value of my Furby collection. Listen, I have a big room. The Global Policy Forum of July 18, 2008 reports that every year, the average American consumes 275 pounds of meat. Meanwhile, every year, Jenna Jameson just pounds meat, all while remaining a vegetarian. Jenna Jameson is such a contradiction. She's so deep. Currently, the meat industry is the largest sector of agriculture in the U.S. economy. The industry is profitable, and as long as they keep handing us meat, we'll just keep shoving it in our mouths. Just like Jenna. For my solutions, I interviewed Barack Obama. By reading an article on MSNBC and viewing It, he says we need a change. I agree. Solutions lie in changing our way of thinking and changing our consumption. First, we need to change up our habits. We stick to familiar, easy-bake oven foods because, let's face it, we're lazy. However, there are plenty of foods from different countries that don't involve a lot of work and are easy to make. I mean, there are plenty of dogs running around outside. I mean, technically, if you pet it, it's not meat. Or buy a vegetarian cookbook. You'd be surprised at how good some of those recipes are. Except tofu cheese. That's actually disgusting. But you know, if all else fails and nothing floats your boat or tickles your pickle, there's always the good old classic PB&J sandwich, which contains 12 grams of protein. Here, I made this for you. It's so good! I've had 12 of them today. Second, we need to consume less. Rarely do we realize that the actual serving size for meat is 3 ounces, or roughly the size of a deck of cards, which is a lot easier to royal flush. Pamela Martin, professor of geophysics at the University of Chicago, explains that if Americans were to reduce their meat consumption by just 20%, it would be as though we all switched from a standard sedan to an ultra-efficient Prius. Alongside, feeding cattle organic grains and raising them on grass will significantly reduce the amount of gas that they produce. And if a sheep comes up to you and tells you to pull its hoof, don't. Realistically, we will never cut meat out of our diets. But by simply buying from our local farms, we're reducing our carbon footprint from a big foot to a cute, animated little foot. So I went back to this fanatical veggie worshipping stand, told them that vegetables have feelings too. And then I kidnapped Tavita from having to further endure any explosion via Polaroid. Now, she and I fight fanatical veggies all across the country. Well, we did until I got hungry. What? Sometimes those beef teriyaki nuggets look pretty good in that convenience store at 1 a.m. But it's time that we became accountable for our own diets. Let's take the dye out of diets and leave it where it belongs, with Princess Di, because she was beautiful and she never farted.
All right.
You loves. Many flubs.
It's okay. This is not the final version of